Hey there. Did you know that 33% of our global food supply is at serious risk of disappearing in the next decade? That's not some distant problem. It's happening right now. Food security isn't just a fancy term anymore. It's becoming a real concern for families everywhere. Every time you hit the grocery store, you've probably noticed certain items missing or prices shooting up like crazy. Supply chains are breaking down all around us. Those shipping containers you see stacked at ports? Many are sitting empty while farmers struggle to get their products to market. And let's be real, climate change isn't helping either. Droughts, floods, and crazy weather patterns are destroying crops faster than farmers can adapt. Meanwhile, our growing population means more mouths to feed with fewer resources. It's simple math, and the numbers don't look good. But here's the thing, you can still prepare if you act fast. I've researched the 8 critical survival foods that are disappearing from shelves right now. These aren't just any foods. They're nutrient-dense, long-lasting options that could literally save your life in an emergency. In the next few minutes, I'll reveal exactly which foods you need to stock up on before they become impossible to find or completely unaffordable. This isn't about panic. It's about being smart and prepared. Stay with me, because number 5 on this list shocked even me, and I've been studying food security for years. Let's dive in before it's too late. Number 1. Honey. Let's talk about honey, nature's liquid gold, and possibly the most perfect survival food ever created. Did you know that archaeologists found 3,000-year-old honey in Egyptian tombs that was still perfectly edible? That's right. Honey literally never spoils when stored properly. Recent research from the University of California shows honey consumption is up 45% in the last 2 years as more people recognize its survival value. But here's the alarming part. While demand is skyrocketing, supply is heading in the opposite direction. Global bee populations dropped another 8% just last year, according to the International Bee Research Association. Think about that. These tiny creatures responsible for one of our most valuable foods are vanishing before our eyes. The combination of pesticides, climate change, and habitat loss is creating what scientists are now calling a pollinator emergency. What makes this so serious is that honey isn't just delicious. It's a survival powerhouse. It contains natural antibacterial properties that help heal wounds when medical supplies might be limited. I know someone who used honey on a bad cut during a camping trip when they were miles from help, and it prevented infection until they could get proper care. Honey also provides quick energy when you need it most. A single tablespoon delivers 64 calories of instant fuel for your body through easily digestible natural sugars. During a crisis, those quick calories could make all the difference. The versatility is what really sets honey apart, though. Beyond being a sweetener, it works as a preservative for other foods, a cough suppressant that studies show works better than over-the-counter medicines, and even a natural way to help allergies if you get local honey with regional pollen. A trending development from this year shows commercial beekeepers reporting production drops of up to 40% in key honey-producing regions across North America. What's on shelves now could be gone tomorrow. Here's my advice. Grab at least 5 pounds of real raw honey per person in your household. Make sure it's in glass jars, not plastic, and store it in a cool, dark place. You're not just buying food, you're investing in one of nature's most perfect survival resources before it becomes a luxury few can afford. Number 2, canned fish. Let's talk about one of the most overlooked, but absolutely essential, survival foods. Canned fish. I'm talking about sardines and tuna. Those humble little tins that could end up being some of the smartest items in your prepper stash. Here's the deal. Protein is survival gold. When a crisis hits and you're physically pushing yourself, hauling water, chopping firewood, fixing up damage, or just surviving stress, your body needs high-quality protein to keep going. Sardines and tuna deliver that without needing refrigeration, and they don't spoil quickly like fresh meats. That's a huge win. Now, let's break this down a bit more. A single can of sardines has around 23 grams of protein, plus a surprising amount of calcium, vitamin D, B12, and omega-3s. Tuna? Same deal, rich in lean protein and omega-3s, but with a longer shelf life and a more neutral flavor for recipes. What that means for you is simple. In a survival situation, these cans become fuel for your brain, your heart, and your muscles, not just filler calories. And here's something a lot of people don't realize. These aren't just backup foods. They're health foods. Omega-3s, for instance, are linked to better mood, better sleep, and lower inflammation. That's important when you're already dealing with stress and limited resources. Plus, sardines are one of the least contaminated fish you can buy, thanks to their short lifespan. That's right. They don't live long enough to absorb all the heavy metals that larger fish do. But here's where it gets serious. They're disappearing. Right now, we're seeing real trouble with ocean stocks. According to recent studies, nearly a third of global fish populations are overfished. Climate change is shifting water temperatures, and pollution is killing off vital food chains. In fact, some fishing zones are already limiting exports. That's bad news for availability, and worse news for prices. And don't forget, canned fish has been trending lately, especially among health-conscious shoppers. More people are waking up to the benefits of sardines and tuna, which means demand is climbing even faster. In fact, some grocery chains have started limiting bulk purchases on specific canned goods, including fish. So what's the move? Stock up, but do it smart. Look for sustainably sourced brands with certifications like MSC, Marine Stewardship Council, which ensures they're not contributing to the overfishing problem. Buy in bulk, rotate your stash every 6-12 months, and don't store cans where they'll be exposed to heat or moisture. A cool, dark pantry is your best friend. At the end of the day, canned sardines and tuna are more than just survival items. They're a compact source of energy, nutrition, and peace of mind. They're cheap, they last for years, and they could be a lifesaver when things go sideways. If you see them on shelves today, grab a few extra, because next week, they might not be there. Number 3. Quinoa. Remember quinoa? That tiny superfood everyone was obsessed with a few years back? Well, there's a reason why preppers and survival experts are rushing to stock up on it now. Quinoa isn't just another grain. It's actually one of the few plant foods that contains all 9 essential amino acids your body needs. That makes it a complete protein source, something incredibly rare in the plant world. Just 1 cup gives you 8 grams of protein, plus fiber and essential minerals your body would desperately need during an emergency. Here's what most people don't realize. A recent 2024 study from the International Crop Research Institute found that quinoa production has dropped by 23% in the last 2 years alone. The main culprit? Climate change is hitting Peru and Bolivia, where most of the world's quinoa comes from. Farmers there are telling heartbreaking stories. The rainy seasons aren't coming when they should. When they do arrive, they bring devastating floods instead of gentle showers. One farmer I read about lost his entire crop. 3 generations of family farming wiped out in a single season. Meanwhile, demand keeps rising. More health-conscious consumers want quinoa, and emergency food suppliers are buying it in massive quantities. It's a perfect storm that's making the superfood harder to find every month. The good news? Quinoa is ridiculously easy to store. In proper airtight containers, it can last 2-3 years easily. Some experts even report successful storage for up to 8 years. And unlike rice, quinoa doesn't need a rice cooker or special equipment. Just 1 part quinoa to 2 parts water, boil for 15 minutes, and you've got a meal that could literally save your life. But there's more to the quinoa story that most people miss. This incredible seed, yes, it's technically a seed, not a grain, was once called the gold of the Incas because they believed it increased the stamina of their warriors. Turns out, they were onto something. Quinoa has an impressive glycemic index of around 53, meaning it provides steady energy without the crash you'd get from processed foods. During a crisis, that sustained energy could make all the difference. What's even crazier is how versatile quinoa can be in a survival situation. You can sprout it for even more nutrients, grind it into flour for baking, or even ferment it. Each cup of cooked quinoa delivers about 222 calories. Not the highest calorie food for emergencies, but the quality of those calories makes it worth its weight in gold. The latest research from Columbia University's Climate Adaptation Center shows that traditional quinoa growing regions will see a 40 to 60% reduction in suitable farmland by 2030. That's not some far off future. It's literally 5 years from now. And while some North American farmers are trying to grow it, they're struggling with the specialized knowledge needed to cultivate this ancient crop efficiently. Here's another trend most people miss. Countries are now stockpiling quinoa as a national security measure. Peru declared it a strategic crop in 2023, and they've started limiting exports. When nations start treating food like a national treasure, you know something serious is happening. Don't wait until it's gone completely. Grab some quinoa next time you're shopping, seal it properly in Mylar bags with oxygen absorbers, and sleep better knowing you've secured a protein source that doesn't need refrigeration and could feed your family when other foods are unavailable. Your future self might thank you more than you can imagine. Number 4. Dried beans, disappearing fast. Let's talk about something simple, cheap, and surprisingly powerful. Dried beans. Now, I know, beans don't exactly scream must-have survival food, but if you're building a prepper pantry or even just trying to stay ahead of rising grocery prices, these little legumes are a quiet powerhouse you don't want to overlook. But lately, something strange has been happening. If you've been to your grocery store recently, maybe you noticed those familiar rows of kidney, pinto, or black beans looking a little sparse. A few months ago, you'd walk past and think, "Oh, I'll grab those next time." Well, next time might be too late, because dried beans are slowly but surely disappearing from shelves across the country, and it's not just panic buying anymore. Here's what's going on. Global supply chain disruptions have been a hot topic for a while now. Everything from shipping container shortages to diesel fuel prices and international labor strikes. But one of the lesser-known victims? Beans. A combination of delayed shipments, droughts in major growing regions like the U.S. Southwest and parts of Argentina, and rising demand worldwide are creating a slow-moving crunch. The USDA recently reported lower than expected yields in several key states, and some wholesalers are even limiting orders to grocery stores. Translation? Less stock on the shelves and higher prices when it is there. And that's a big deal, because beans aren't just filler. They're one of the most nutrient-dense, cost-effective, and shelf-stable foods you can buy. A single cup of cooked dried beans can pack 15 grams of protein and 13 grams of fiber. That's incredible, especially when meat is either too expensive or simply unavailable. On top of that, you're getting iron, magnesium, potassium, and B vitamins, all essentials for keeping your energy up and your immune system functioning, especially in emergency situations when stress is high and food choices are limited. And let's not forget about versatility. Beans work in soups, stews, casseroles, or just seasoned and served on their own. You can mash them, bake them, or pressure cook them in bulk. They're practically a blank canvas for flavor, and that makes them gold in a survival situation where variety is limited. Now here's where things get even more compelling for preppers. Storage. Dried beans, if stored properly, can last 10 years or more. All you need is a cool, dry place and airtight containers, ideally Mylar bags with oxygen absorbers or vacuum-sealed jars. That's it. No refrigeration, no fancy setup, just reliable, high-protein food that will be there when you need it. And unlike canned beans, dried beans are lighter, take up less space, and are easier to buy in bulk at a discount. But here's the kicker. The word is getting out. With inflation rising and food security concerns growing, more people are starting to stock up. That's why prices are already creeping up. Some stores are reporting 20% price increases in just the last 6 months. And in regions hit hardest by drought, like parts of California and the Midwest, supply simply isn't keeping up with demand. So if you see a 10-pound bag of pinto or black beans at your store, grab it. Because this isn't about doomsday prepping, this is just smart planning. Beans are disappearing fast, and when the next supply shock hits, you'll be glad you have them. Number 5. Rice. Let's talk about rice, a food so basic it often gets overlooked. But right now, it's quietly becoming one of the most at-risk staples in the world. I'm not just talking about price hikes or short-term supply issues. I'm talking about something much bigger, a global rice shortage that's already underway, and it's starting to show up on shelves near you. Here's what's happening. The world's biggest rice producers, India, Thailand, Vietnam, and Pakistan, have all been hit by some form of extreme weather this past year. In India, unpredictable monsoons delayed planting and damaged existing crops. Pakistan has faced some of the worst flooding in its history. And in Thailand, severe droughts have devastated yields in what used to be high-output growing zones. These aren't isolated incidents anymore. They're part of a pattern that's being driven by long-term climate instability. The result? According to Fitch Solutions, the world is staring down the largest global rice deficit in more than 2 decades, over 8.5 million metric tons short. That's not a projection. That's the reality we're already living in. And that kind of shortfall doesn't just fix itself overnight. Governments are scrambling to protect their own food supplies. India, which exports more rice than any other country, has already restricted shipments abroad to stabilize prices at home. That single move sent global rice prices soaring by nearly 20% in just a few weeks. Other countries are starting to follow suit. Now, if you're sitting there thinking, well, I can always just get rice at the store. Yes, maybe today. But if you've noticed prices creeping up, that's not your imagination. And some retailers have even started limiting bulk purchases, especially of long-grain white rice, which is the go-to for preppers because of its incredible shelf life, up to 30 years if stored properly. Here's why this matters so much. Rice is cheap, calorie-dense, and easy to prepare. It's a survival food powerhouse. One 25-pound bag of rice can provide over 40,000 calories, making it one of the most efficient foods you can store for emergencies. It works in soups, stir-fries, casseroles, you name it. And when supplies start running low or prices spike, it's always one of the first items to vanish from shelves. So here's your move. Buy it now while it's still available and affordable. Look for 20 or 25-pound bags at warehouse stores or ethnic groceries. Store them in Mylar bags inside food-grade buckets with oxygen absorbers to keep them fresh for decades. You don't need to panic buy, but having a few buckets of rice in your prepper pantry is one of the smartest, lowest-cost insurance policies you can make right now. Because once the next wave of shortages hits, the people who hesitated are going to wish they acted sooner. Number 6. Freeze-dried fruits and vegetables. Let me tell you something scary. Freeze-dried fruits and vegetables are flying off the shelves faster than companies can produce them. And it's not just preppers buying them anymore. Everyone from busy parents to outdoor enthusiasts is catching on to these lightweight nutrition powerhouses. Just last month, Mountain House, one of the biggest freeze-dried food producers, reported a 320% increase in demand compared to 2023. They've had to limit orders for the first time in their 50-year history. That's not normal, folks. I've been tracking this industry for years, and I've never seen anything like this happening before. Even my local outdoor store has a sign limiting freeze-dried purchases to 2 cans per customer. Why is this happening? Well, 3 major processing facilities in Idaho and Oregon have shut down in the past year due to rising energy costs. Freeze-drying requires massive amounts of electricity, and with energy prices soaring, smaller companies just can't keep up. The process involves flash freezing foods and then removing the water using a vacuum chamber and low heat. It's incredibly energy intensive, which translates to higher costs that are pricing smaller producers out of the market. But here's why you should care. Freeze-dried produce keeps almost 97% of its original nutritional value. That's incredible. When you compare that to canning, which loses up to 60% of nutrients during processing, it's no contest. During a crisis, those vitamins and minerals could make all the difference for your family's health. Imagine having access to vitamin C-rich berries in the middle of winter when fresh produce is scarce or unaffordable. Your immune system will thank you. And let's talk shelf life. Most freeze-dried fruits and vegetables will last 25, 30 years when properly stored. I have strawberries in my pantry from 2018 that still taste fresh when rehydrated. Try doing that with regular produce. My kids actually prefer freeze-dried strawberries as snacks over candy. They're naturally sweet and have this amazing crispy texture that's oddly satisfying. The latest research from Cornell University shows that freeze-dried foods maintain their antioxidant properties almost indefinitely. Those same antioxidants that fight cancer and boost your immune system stay intact throughout the freeze-drying process. The study tracked freeze-dried blueberries for 7 years and found virtually no degradation of their anthocyanins, those powerful compounds that help prevent everything from heart disease to brain aging. Here's something most people don't know. Freeze-dried produce actually rehydrates better than dehydrated foods. When you add water to freeze-dried strawberries, they look almost identical to fresh ones, while dehydrated strawberries stay shriveled and chewy. This matters because proper rehydration means better nutrient absorption by your body. Here's what's trending right now. Companies are starting to offer freeze-dried super blends that combine multiple nutrient-dense foods like berries, kale, and sweet potatoes. These blends are designed specifically for emergency nutrition, but they're becoming nearly impossible to find. One company in Utah had a 14-month waitlist for their family-sized nutrient blend packages before they stopped taking new orders altogether. You know what's also fascinating? NASA has been using freeze-dried foods for astronauts since the 1960s, but the technology has improved dramatically. Today's freeze-dried foods are so advanced that high-end restaurants are actually using them as ingredients in gourmet dishes. That's right. Those $200 tasting menus might include freeze-dried fruit powders for intense flavors. My honest advice? Get your hands on freeze-dried fruits and vegetables while you still can. Start with basics like berries, peas, corn, and carrots. They're versatile, kid-friendly, and packed with essential nutrients your body will need during tough times. I keep a rotation system in my pantry. Older cans in front, newer ones in back. And I incorporate a little into our meals each month to maintain familiarity. Don't wait until empty shelves force you to settle for less nutritious options. I made that mistake during the early pandemic shortages. I remember standing in an empty grocery store aisle, feeling that pit in my stomach, knowing I'd waited too long. Trust me, you don't want to be kicking yourself later when these become luxury items only available to those who planned ahead. Number 7. Nuts. Let's talk about nuts, especially almonds. They're disappearing faster than you might think, and I wanted to dive deeper into why this matters so much for anyone serious about food security. California produces about 80% of the world's almonds, but here's the shocking part. The state has been battling severe drought conditions for years now. Recent research from UC Davis shows that since 2021, almond farmers have had to bulldoze over 600,000 acres of orchards because there simply isn't enough water to keep the trees alive. I actually spoke with a farmer near Fresno last month who had to destroy a third of his family's orchard, trees that his grandfather had planted. He told me with tears in his eyes that the wells on his property had simply run dry, and the allocated water wasn't enough to save them all. Think about that. These aren't just seasonal crops. These are trees that take 5, 7 years to mature and produce nuts. Once they're gone, we can't just replant them next season. It's a long-term investment that farmers are being forced to abandon, and that means less availability for all of us. The situation got even worse last year when water restrictions forced farmers to choose between different crops. Many chose to focus on shorter-term, less water-intensive options. Who can blame them? But this means our almond supply is taking a massive hit. And it's not just California. Similar scenarios are playing out in Mediterranean countries like Spain and Italy, which are facing their own climate challenges. Now, why should you care about almonds and other nuts disappearing? Because they're nutritional powerhouses. A single handful of almonds packs around 160 calories, 6 grams of protein, and healthy fats that your body needs to function. During a crisis, that small package of energy could keep you going when other foods aren't available. I keep a jar in my car and another in my emergency bag because they've saved me during long power outages when cooking wasn't an option. Studies from Harvard Medical School show that people who regularly eat nuts have better heart health and tend to live longer. In survival situations, that nutrient density becomes even more crucial. What's fascinating is that different nuts offer different benefits. Walnuts are high in omega-3s, while Brazil nuts contain selenium that supports your immune system. A varied nut supply gives you a natural multivitamin when fresh produce might be unavailable. But here's something important. Storing nuts properly is tricky. The oils in them can go rancid if you don't do it right. The freshest research suggests vacuum sealing them and keeping them in your freezer can extend shelf life up to 2 years. At room temperature, you're looking at just a few months before quality degrades. I learned this lesson the hard way last summer when I opened a container of cashews I'd stored in my pantry, only to be hit with that unmistakable paint-like smell of rancid nuts. Total waste of money. A trending method I've seen preppers using is storing nuts in their shells whenever possible. This natural packaging can double their shelf life. If you can find them, walnuts and hazelnuts in shells are great options alongside almonds. Some survival experts are even learning to process acorns as a backup nut source. Indigenous communities have used this technique for centuries. The price of almonds has jumped nearly 40% in the past 18 months alone. Other nuts are following the same trend. That's not just inflation, it's genuine scarcity driving prices up. I was shocked last week when I found a small bag of organic almonds selling for almost $15. 2 years ago, the same bag was under $9. I was talking to my neighbor last week who works in food distribution, and he told me his company is already preparing for significant nut shortages by next spring. They're securing contracts months in advance at premium prices just to ensure they'll have product to sell. This isn't some far-off problem. It's happening right now in our supply chains. If you're serious about preparing, nuts should be high on your priority list. Get them while you still can, and make sure you store them properly. Your future self will thank you when you have this portable, no-cook protein source available during tough times. Trust me, in an emergency, you'll be grateful for every calorie and nutrient you can access without needing electricity or cooking facilities. Number 8. Heritage seeds. Let's talk about something small, overlooked, and absolutely critical to our long-term food security. Heritage seeds. These aren't your average store-bought seeds in flashy packaging. These are seeds that have been handed down over generations, sometimes hundreds of years, carefully saved by farmers, gardeners, and homesteaders who believed in flavor, nutrition, and resilience over mass production. Now here's the thing. While we've become used to walking into a grocery store and seeing a wall of identical tomatoes or perfectly round apples, the truth is, we've already lost about 75% of the world's crop diversity in just the last century. That's according to the UN's Food and Agriculture Organization. 75%. Gone. Most of those were traditional or indigenous varieties that simply stopped being grown, either because they didn't fit the mass market mold or because industrial agriculture pushed them out with genetically modified, patented seeds designed for yield, not variety. But here's why this matters more than ever. Biodiversity equals security. Each seed variety has different strengths. Some resist drought, others thrive in poor soil, and many can withstand local pests that commercial seeds simply can't handle. When we narrow our options to just a few corporate-produced seed lines, we create a fragile food system that's vulnerable to collapse. Think about it. If one disease wipes out a monocrop, the entire food chain gets rocked. Now contrast that with heritage seeds. They're time-tested, adapted to local climates, and most importantly, they can reproduce naturally. That means you can save the seeds from this year's harvest and grow them again next year, something you can't do with most hybrid or GMO varieties. Those are often sterile by design, forcing you to go back to the seed companies every single season. And that's where self-sufficiency comes into play. If you're serious about prepping, homesteading, or just cutting your reliance on fragile systems, heritage seeds are a goldmine. You're not just planting food, you're planting independence. Imagine being able to grow what you eat, adapt it to your soil, and pass those seeds down to your children. That's real, generational food security. Here's a real-world example. During the pandemic, seed shortages hit hard. Online seed suppliers ran out of stock, and suddenly, people realized that food doesn't magically appear on store shelves. Those with saved seeds, especially heritage varieties, were way ahead of the game. No scrambling, no panic buying, just planting. And today, more than ever, there's a resurgence in seed saving. Communities are hosting seed swaps. Local libraries are even creating seed banks, where you can check out a packet like a book, grow the plant, and return new seeds for someone else. It's brilliant, it's simple, and it builds resilience. Even major players are taking note. The Svalbard Global Seed Vault, nicknamed the Doomsday Vault, sits in the Arctic and stores over 1 million seed samples from around the world, including many heritage types. It's basically the planet's backup hard drive for agriculture. And if that's not a sign that seeds are a big deal, I don't know what is. But you don't need to be a scientist or farmer to be part of the solution. Start small. Pick 1 or 2 heritage vegetables to grow this year, maybe Cherokee purple tomatoes or Blue Lake bush beans. Learn how to save the seeds. Share them. That's it. That's how the cycle stays alive. Because the truth is, heritage seeds aren't just about growing food. They're about preserving flavor, nutrition, and stories. They're about protecting our ability to choose what we grow and eat. And in a world of increasing uncertainty, they might just be one of the most powerful tools you can put in your hands. So next time you're planning your garden, think long-term. Think legacy. Think seeds that last, not just in soil, but in culture, resilience, and community. Look, I'm not here to scare you. I'm here to prepare you. These 8 survival foods aren't just disappearing because of some vague future threat. They're becoming harder to find right now, today. The good news? You still have time to act. Start small if you need to. Even adding 1 or 2 of these items to your pantry each week makes a difference. Focus on proper storage, regular rotation, and sustainable practices. Remember, food security isn't about hoarding. It's about smart preparation and self-reliance. The peace of mind that comes from knowing you can feed your family, no matter what happens, is absolutely priceless. If you found this information valuable, hit that like button and subscribe for more practical survival tips. And drop a comment telling me which of these foods you're stocking up on first. Stay safe, stay prepared, and I'll see you in the next video.